for all of you at Extra, this is my friend Chuck Holton, and I'm here in Panama. My wife and I have been vacationing here for the week, and we've been staying with Chuck and Connie, who you're down here part of the year.
Yeah, we spend part of the year down here. We have a farm in West Virginia, and we go back and forth.
And of course, so if you know Chuck, you know this face from NRATV, and also done a bunch of work for CBN and other organizations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of work for whoever will pay me, but
a true capitalist.
Yeah, I've been a war correspondent since 2003, basically, and you know, covering wars and disasters around the world.
Yeah.
So you know, the way that business works is that there aren't a lot of people who are willing to go to Sudan or Somalia or Burma or whatever, and so I can go and shoot footage and sell it to everybody. Mm-hmm. Maybe go and specifically do reporting for one or another agency, but you know, work once, get paid 3 times. That's the business model. That's
great model.
Yeah.
Great model. So I think, you know, I want to talk about that because you go literally all over the world at really a moment's notice. Mm-hmm. A couple days here and there, yeah. And of course the Second Amendment guy. Strong Second Amendment supporter, but most of the places you go, you can't take a firearm with you.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it'd be nice if I could, but that's just not the reality in most of the world. And I think, you know, if anything, I've gotten a real strong appreciation, a much stronger appreciation for the Second Amendment, and so have the people that I talk to around the world. I just returned from about a couple of weeks in Europe. We traveled around to about 12 different countries, and everywhere I went, the people I talked to said, we wish we had the Second Amendment. Now think about this.
Wow.
I don't know anything about the Constitution in Switzerland or in Italy or in France, but all those people know, when you say the Second Amendment, they know what that means. Now, what does that tell you about the how special our Constitution is, and really the greatness of America in that particular document?
In that thing, yeah. And so, okay, so your background, former Army Ranger, and then flew helicopters in the National Guard for a while. And so do you feel like when you go to those places that you are unprotected, and does it make you fearful, or do you go, man, I just do with what I got?
I mean, I trust God. You know, I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and I really feel like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be, not necessarily that I'm going to be safe everywhere I go, because God doesn't promise me that I'll be safe, but that I will be meaningful everywhere I go. And I'd much rather have a meaningful life than a safe life any day. And I feel like what I'm doing is very meaningful because I'm bringing people's story. The people who are hurting most around the world, I'm bringing their story to the world so that the world can do something about it. And, you know, now, I'm a very cautious person.
Right. You don't do stupid things.
That's right. I mean, you couldn't do the job that I do and survive very long if you weren't. And so I know how to go these places and not stand out, not give them any warning that I'm coming. That's probably the biggest one, is that if you go to Somalia and you don't let anybody know you're coming and you just show up and drive through the neighborhood and get the footage you need and then leave, you know, with that OODA loop that you talk about a lot, that orient, observe, and
orient, decide, and act.
Observe, orient, decide, and act. It takes a little bit of time for a criminal to go through that. And so if I can get in and get the footage I need and get out before they can formulate a plan to kidnap me, then I can be pretty safe. And now there are times when I hire armed security wherever I go. There are times when I have myself been armed, but very, very rarely. And I really would rather not. I got enough junk to carry, you know. And a lot of times,
see all the camera equipment he goes everywhere with, man.
But you know, I mean, I'm embedded with U.S. troops or something in Afghanistan. I don't need a gun. If I needed a gun, things are pretty bad, right? I mean, right? I'm surrounded by guys that are there to protect me. So, you know, I know that I can't do this job forever, but I feel like I'm doing important work, and it's a great opportunity, a great privilege, I think, to get to see history in the making.
Yeah,
and so
to be right there.
That's right. And you know, you name a disaster or a war or a conflict that's happened in the last 15 years, and I've been there.
Wow. And
it's really, I think, a privilege to do that, and it gives me, like I say, it gives me a perspective on America that Americans just can't have, because I'm outside of America so much that I get to see it from the outside in with new eyes, and it makes me really appreciate what we have.
So what do you think here of the gun laws in Panama?
gun laws in Panama are probably about like they are in Maryland or
pretty close.
Maybe California or something like that. I mean, you can get a gun, you have to get a permit, and to get a permit, you have to get a background check and a drug test and a vision test and, you know, different things like that. And it takes a little time to do. What I tell people is that those restrictions really hurt the people who need a gun for self-protection the most, and that is the very poor people in Panama who live in the bad neighborhoods, who are more likely to be robbed or be assaulted or be raped or whatever. You know, they're not going to, I mean, I couldn't get somebody to rob me if I tried. You know, I mean, I can walk down the worst part of Panama City at 11 o'clock at night and everybody's going to go, I'm not messing with that
as a
guy.
gringo, yeah.
Right. But the people who need it cannot get a gun because it's very expensive. There's a moratorium on the importation of firearms in Panama right now for the last 7 years or so that have made it extremely expensive to buy a gun. So we were looking at one on Saturday.
We saw one on Saturday, a Springfield XD with a couple of extra magazines and some competition gear. And it was over $3,000.
$3,000. So, you know, a Glock 17 that would be like $400 or $500 in the States is like $4,000 here. And that's one that's already got, you know, 20,000 rounds put through it or something.
Easy.
Right.
So, I mean, it feels classist to me.
It definitely is. And I think that one of the reasons why the ruling class here in Panama has the gun laws the way they're, it's the same as what we see in the United States. I mean, you know, Hillary Clinton wants to take away the Second Amendment, but she doesn't want her armed security to go away.
Well, of course
a
not.
lot of these Hollywood celebrities, you know, they speak up against the Second Amendment, against the NRA or whatever, but they're not going to give up their armed security details, and they can afford those things, but people like you and me can't.
Right.
And so that means that, you know, it really is classist to have that kind of gun control laws in effect. And that's what we see here in Panama. It doesn't really affect me a whole lot because I can afford to buy a gun if I want to.
Well, and that's, I mean, so we shot a match yesterday on Sunday, and I mean, the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, wait a minute. It was a great group of guys that all came and shot. And then I go, gosh, man, somebody let me use their pistol for the match, and that was great. But listen, if you said, hey, John, you want to buy a third-gen Glock? It's $4,500. I'm out, man. Yeah. I don't have that kind of money for, that's you know. And then if you want to carry it, you got to have a second permit, and who do you know, and where are you? And you know, I feel like maybe if you've been in country a while, you know some people in power, maybe you can, but that's not the kind of country I want to live in for sure.
Well, exactly. And, you know, again, that's one of the reasons we push so hard for the people around the world that I go talk to say, you know, I've been to Brazil just recently and talked to a guy that owns a gun store in Brazil. And I said, what's your message to America? And he said, never give up your right to self-defense because we don't have that here. Yeah. And consequently, we are being murdered in droves by people who won't follow the law. And so simply following the law puts you at greater risk. And that's not right. It's not the way a government should operate. But there are a lot of people that would like to make the United States that way too.
And whether here in Panama or in Brazil or in the U.S., I mean, the criminal element is not going to follow the law. They're going to get them on their black market, and so, you know, they're going to be available. So, man, we've had a great time here this week, and we've seen some really cool stuff, gotten to do some cool things. So I just wanted you guys to meet Chuck. Now, of course, if you're on NRATV, he is on Front Lines, and you'll see him on Grant Stinchfield's show. You'll see him on Dana Latch's show. You see you on a lot of places, so you know his face. But if you haven't, go check him out. He does great stuff, and he gets to go all over the world. Just went on a tour of Europe. Got to go through Italy and see all the pasta blasters.
Yeah, right. All the pasta blasters.
All the pizza gats.
That's right. We went to the Val di Trompia, which is a valley in northern Italy where 40% of the world's small arms come out of this one valley. And it's a world headquarters for Beretta. We got to look at their 300-year-old villa that they call their headquarters. And, man, what a privilege to get a chance to do that. That's really cool.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. Well, Grant. God, man, I said that because I was thinking of Grant Stinchfield's show. Chuck, sorry. Thanks so much for your time, man. And there comes our next interview. It's going to be our friend Graham. So, hey, guys, have a great day.
All right.